Hello, my silent heroes. The room in Washington was unnaturally quiet. No handshakes, no casual chatter, no eager grins for the cameras, just a thick, expectant silence. Then she entered. Hillary Clinton. Not as Secretary of State, not as First Lady, not even as the Madame President she'd rehearsed for decades. Today, she was simply the focus of a long-overdue reckoning. She took her seat with her usual poise, chin high, smile polished, posture radiating power. But for the first time in her career, none of it seemed to matter. Across from her sat Patel, the FBI director. Not a politician, not a pundit, just a man with a folder and a clear mandate. And unlike everyone else she'd faced, he wasn't playing by her rules. The hearing chamber didn't erupt. It pulsed with tension. Reporters leaned forward, cameras locked in. Even her allies in the party stopped pretending this was routine. They knew this was historic. Not just because Hillary Clinton was back under oath, but because this time the evidence arrived before she did. She'd built her career on a web of access, ambiguity, and what seemed like absolute immunity. She believed the system was hers, and for decades it was. Until Patel appeared, armed with the tools to cut through it all. Patel stood calm, quiet, and unflinching. "Madam Secretary," he began, "on March 4, 2015, the U.S. House issued a subpoena for your emails from your time as Secretary of State." He opened his folder. Between that date and March 25th, your private server was wiped clean. 33,000 emails, deleted, not archived, not preserved. He paused. 33,000. The number hung in the air like a gavel's strike. That's not a clerical error. That's obstruction. She'd laughed it off on late-night TV. What? Like with a cloth? The audience cheered. But what she wiped wasn't dust. It was classified communications, national security details, and public accountability. And she didn't use a cloth. She used bleach bit. Patel pressed on. Your server wasn't government-issued. It wasn't secure. It wasn't monitored. Yet you used it to send and receive sensitive information, some marked classified at the time. He held up a report. This is from the FBI's own review, 110 emails in 52 chains, all containing classified material. He met her gaze. If any soldier, analyst, or junior staffer had done that, they'd be in prison. But you got a book deal. The Clinton privilege wasn't just political. It was embedded in the system. She didn't fear the law because she'd helped shape its loopholes. Until now. Patel clicked a screen. Let's walk through the timeline. March 2nd. The New York Times reveals your private email server. March 4th. Congress subpoenas the contents. March 9th. Your team discusses wiping it. March 25th. The deletion is complete. He faced the panel. This wasn't cleanup. This was concealment. This was deliberate. Turning back to her, "Do you deny authorizing the deletion?" She didn't answer. She didn't need to. Everyone already knew. She'd built an empire on denial. But denial can't erase digital forensics. Today, the evidence spoke louder than any spin. Patel raised a final folder. The FBI's 2016 conclusion under James Comey. Extreme carelessness, but no criminal intent. He snapped it shut. That was politics, not law. Obstruction doesn't require intent. Destroying subpoenaed material does. The words lingered. You did that, and the country knows it. She avoided prosecution not because of innocence, but because of her name. Today, that name offered no shield. Patel leaned in. What was in those emails? Why instruct an IT contractor to use BleachBit and destroy devices with hammers? Why were backups missing? Why did deletions spike after pay-to-play allegations? She offered no answers, because none existed without self-incrimination. Her legacy? The most experienced candidate in evasion, destruction, and scandal management. She once asked, "What difference at this point does it make?" Today, the difference was clear. Someone finally had the power to hold her accountable, not as a politician, but as a witness to her own actions. And the one with the file? Kash Patel. He wasn't done yet. The emails were gone. The servers wiped. The headlines managed. But the dead remained. 4 Americans, a diplomat, 2 former Navy SEALs, and a State Department officer, killed in Benghazi, Libya, on September 11, 2012. While the world mourned and questions mounted, Hillary Clinton told cameras it was a protest gone wrong, sparked by a YouTube video. A decade later, Kash Patel returned, not with emotion, but with evidence she thought buried forever. He stood, a thick file in hand, FBI seal prominent. "Madam Secretary, let's discuss Benghazi." Her eyes hardened, not from surprise, but memory. She thought this was closed. But Patel wasn't reliving it, he was re-exposing it. On September 11, 2012, our compound in Benghazi faced a coordinated attack by armed militants. 4 died. Within 48 hours, your administration claimed it was a spontaneous protest over a YouTube video. He paused, then clicked. A screen lit. An email from Hillary to Chelsea Clinton, 11:12 p.m. ET, September 11th. 2 officers killed in Benghazi by an al-Qaeda-like group. Patel turned. The truth was in your inbox, but the lie went public. She didn't misjudge, she misled. She didn't confuse, she choreographed. Patel advanced the timeline. September 11th, 10:32 p.m. Attack begins, 11:12 p.m. Your email to Chelsea, al-Qaeda-like. September 12th, 10:08 a.m. Public statement. Inflammatory material on the Internet. September 14th, at Andrews Air Force Base with coffins. Rage over an awful Internet video. He locked eyes. You knew, and you lied. While bodies were still warm, she buried the truth under fiction. Patel continued. Recovered cables, classified then, declassified now, from Greg Hicks. No protest, coordinated, heavy weapons, al-Qaeda fingerprints. From the Africa Bureau, video angle unsupported, risk credibility loss. You had this, you ignored it. He closed the folder. You didn't lose credibility. You surrendered it for politics. She framed lies as diplomacy. But diplomacy doesn't mean deceiving Gold Star families on camera. Patel's voice dropped. You stood before the families of Chris Stevens, Glenn Doherty, Tyrone Woods, and Sean Smith. A clip played. Hillary at Andrews, blaming the video. Patel muted it. You didn't just lie to the press. You lied to the grieving. A letter from Charles Woods. She looked me in the eyes and said the video was to blame. She knew it wasn't. This wasn't miscommunication. It was calculated deception, packaged as empathy. Patel turned to the committee. No firings, no accountability, no transparency, no apology. Back to her. Your department ignored 600-plus security requests from Benghazi. You didn't send help. You sent Susan Rice to repeat the lie on TV? You blamed a film while ground teams begged for backup. He paused. You said, what difference does it make? Madam Secretary, it made all the difference. Hillary didn't lose 4 Americans. She abandoned them, then stood over their caskets, selling a PR-crafted story. When asked, she shrugged it off as noise, as partisanship. But today, under oath and declassified truth, no spin remained. Only 4 names etched in stone, and a legacy built on silence. There's a subtle corruption that leaves no fingerprints, no cash bags, no smoky deals, just polished smiles, perfect timing, and donation receipts. The Clinton Foundation wasn't just charity. It was a gateway. Want U.S. government access during her secretary tenure? There was a number to call, a check to cut, a calendar to bend. Now, Kash Patel had the ledger. He held a folder, Clinton Foundation Activity, 2009 and 2013. We've heard it was about saving the world, but today, let's see who paid and what they got. She called it philanthropy. But access wasn't free. Patel walked through the data. Over 50% of your non-governmental meetings as secretary were with foundation donors. Not coincidence, a business model. A chart appeared. 154 private meetings, 85 donors, many with 6- or 7-figure gifts, pending international business. You weren't holding meetings, you were holding auctions. She sold the illusion of diplomacy, priced accordingly. Patel tapped files. Emails from aides show coordination between foundation staff and your scheduler. Hey, Huma, this donor in D.C., 15 with HRC, big check expected. Off books. Another. Quiet intro for ex-donor and Moroccan delegation, pledged 12 van solos to CGI. This wasn't charity. It was influence laundering. A shadow State Department, funded by foreign cash, disguised as compassion. Patel listed top payers. Saudi Arabia, 25 hour. Kuwait, 10 hours. UAE, 5M. Qatar, 5M. Algeria, 500K, all with arms deals, trade disputes pending. How many meetings declared? How many contracts awarded post-donation? Silence. The numbers answered. Then, the triangle. Foundation raises money. Secretary meets people. Bill gets speaking fees. 13 speeches during your tenure. 2.1 M total. Hosts had state business. That's not influence. It's currency tied to policy. The Clinton complex, where access had a price, and no one left empty-handed, except Americans. Patel held an IG report. Buried findings, state ignored rules on foreign donations. Alarms raised, violations flagged. Money still flowed. Quote, failure to separate official role and foundation created appearance of impropriety. Appearance? It was a global enterprise inside government. He stepped forward. You said no influence bought, no proof of wrongdoing, a smear. Then, why did donations plummet when you left state? If not paid to play, why did players leave when power faded? No answer. Numbers spoke louder than denials. By now, the room wasn't shocked. It was silent, absorbing recognition. Emails exposed. Benghazi revisited. Donors bared. But the most corrosive? The chapter where she didn't just wield power. She warped truth, costing the nation dearly. Patel at the podium, folder, fusion, GPS, Steele dossier, timeline of disinformation. You've said democracy and truth matter. Let's examine what you did with them. Slide, October 19, 2016. Hillary tweet. Computer scientists uncovered covert server linking Trump to Russian bank. You called it evidence, but you knew it was a lie. She didn't stumble. She commissioned it. Patel revealed Steele dossier. Opposition research as spy fiction. Communications from Fusion GPS, hired by her campaign DNC, August 2016, can't verify Steele's claims. Too rushed, too political. But you amplified, leaked, tweeted to journalists, Intel, FBI. She weaponized institutions she claimed to protect. What did this lie cost? List: 4 years investigations, 32 unlawful taxpayer funds, 2,800 subpoenas, 500 warrants. Millions told their president was a Russian asset, all from a file you paid for, knowing it was garbage. Clip: Comey. Portions unverified even today. Unverified, but you treated it as gospel. Patel. FBI didn't create it. Your allies handed it over. Memo: state official passes dossier via Clinton intermediaries. You planted seeds, harvested outrage. This wasn't smear, election interference on global scale. Media parroted NY Times, CNN headlines. Trump-Russia collusion, explosive intel. You let it run. Chaos benefited you. Mueller: no collusion, no apology. You vanished. Damage lingered. She built a lie, a culture, a resistance, a national divide still unhealed. You weren't resistance target. You were its architect. Leaks, media coordination, false intel, all traced back. How many investigations from your narrative? Reputations shattered, families divided, faith lost? Pause. How many lies until truth matters? No response, no script, just consequence. Hillary wasn't just a politician, a production by donors, consultants, strategists, sold as defense. But behind? Deception machinery. Today, it failed. Lights on, audience gone, star exposed. Not leader, but division's author. She'd sat through it all. Documents, questions evaded. No hiding now. Once narrative's architect, evasion's queen, untouchable empire builder, she faced formal federal criminal referral. Patel, calm, methodical. Thin folder, federal referral package, Hillary R. Clinton. Mr. Chairman, on behalf of the Bureau, I submit referral to DOJ, evidence of obstruction, 18 U.S.C. 1519, unauthorized classified retention, 1924, destruction of records, conspiracy, 371, abuse of office. No movement, no whispers. Defenders knew. This changed everything. Not press hit, official. Years playing system, weaponizing influence. Now, system recalibrated, pointed at her. Folder, server timelines, donor logs, Benghazi discrepancies, fusion chains, affidavits, leaks. Networks scrambled. CNN, DOJ receives Clinton referral, obstruction, mishandling. NYT, Clinton faces scrutiny post-review. MSNBC panel, did Clinton machine go too far? It was over. Firewall cracked. Not headline, paper trail to prosecution. Democrats didn't defend. Vague on process. DNC postponed fundraiser. Surrogates dodged. She wasn't icon, liability. Party saw math. Legacy plus lies plus exposure equals dead weight. Cut loose. DOJ. Referral received. Materials under review via standard channels. No denials. Due process, once championed, now aimed at her. Patel. Not revenge. Principle. Not 2016. Integrity for all offices. Pause. You said no one above law. We agree. That includes you. She walked with certainty. Media insulation. Control. Law averting gaze. But justice waits. Doesn't care for past power. Only actions. She deleted emails. Lied to families. Sold access as diplomacy. Sowed chaos as patriotism. Now law had her name atop page. No editorials, campaigns, galas, just one woman, one file, one word. Defendant. Washington has legends and illusions. Hillary was both, until Patel stripped illusion, left ruins. Not end of figure, audit of shielding system. Firewall down, fire federal. She built untouchable life. Emails wiped, foundations funneled, diplomacy monetized, testimony evaded. Press flinched. Party circled. But Patel's referral ended dance, obstruction, destruction, retention, abuse, interference. Not headline, indictment roadmap. Names? Hers. Years dodging with elegance, bleach bit jokes, interviews, tours, docs. But no nostalgia survived Patel's trail. Server analysis, contradicting cables, arms deal schedules, fusion logs. Not conspiracy, corroboration. Stamped, damning. DNC silent. Name vanished. Donors whispered, "Can't carry this?" Pelosi, Schumer, no comment. Asset? Exposure risk. In her world, exposure is death. DOJ. Single sentence. News flinched. MSNBC critical panel. First in decade. Due process in, spin out. No exits left. She claimed most qualified. Record. Weaponized intel, family lies, access sales, dossier-funded destabilization, oversight as nuisance. Not shadows operator, redesigner. But light catches up. Patel brought floodlights. No yell, gloat, monologue. Just, "You said no one above. This time, we agree." Era ended. Not protest, selfies, galas, in paperwork. In no rallies now, just ethics file, inquiry, silence even PR can't spin. She didn't fall from politics. Belief power shields truth, but truth patient. Now, after obstruction, manipulation, memory loss, legacy, folder, under review. Not rage, takedown, record, undone. Patel didn't accuse, confirmed. Country suspected, now documented, federal. Firewall gone. Queenmaker? Out of Queens. The silence in Washington wasn't just in the hearing room, it spread like a shadow across the nation. Cable news anchors, once quick to defend or deflect, now stumbled over their words. Social media exploded, not with partisan rage, but with a collective exhale. Hashtags like "had Clinton referral" and "Patel files" trended for days, pulling in voices from every corner. Skeptics who demanded proof, supporters who cried foul, and the vast middle who simply wanted the truth, no matter how ugly. But Kash Patel didn't stop at the referral. He knew a single file, no matter how damning, could be buried in bureaucratic limbo. So, in the weeks that followed, he went public. Not with leaks or theatrics, but with transparency. Declassified documents flooded the FBI's online portal, redacted emails showing direct links between Clinton Foundation donors and State Department favors. Internal memos from Benghazi night contradicting every public statement. Forensic reports on the server wipe, time-stamped to the minute. The public didn't need a law degree to understand. One viral infographic broke it down. 33,000 emails deleted post-subpoena. 110 classified. 0 consequences until now. Late-night hosts, who once mocked the scandals as conspiracy fodder, now pivoted. What if it wasn't just smoke, one quipped, before cutting to clips of Patel's testimony. Even Hollywood, long a Clinton stronghold, grew quiet. A planned biopic quietly shelved. Endorsements from A-listers vanished. Hillary Clinton retreated to her Chappaqua estate, surrounded by a shrinking circle of advisors. No more defiant tweets, no press conferences declaring innocence. Her memoir updates stalled. Speaking gigs canceled. Whispers from insiders leaked. She was furious, blaming deep state revenge, but even her most loyal knew the tide had turned. The DOJ's review wasn't a witch hunt. It was methodical, pulling threads from every chapter Patel had exposed. Meanwhile, Patel became an unlikely icon. Not flashy, not charismatic, but resolute. Interviews piled up. "This isn't about one person," he'd say. "It's about restoring faith in the system." Books flew off shelves. The Reckoning, Inside the Clinton Files. Podcasts dissected his calm demeanor, calling him the quiet storm. For the first time in years, Americans on both sides agreed on something. Accountability mattered more than allegiance. But the story didn't end with Clinton. The referral rippled outward. Former aides flipped, offering affidavits on everything from the dossier's origins to unreported foreign meetings. The Clinton Foundation, once a global powerhouse, faced IRS audits. Donations dried up overnight. Bill Clinton, ever the survivor, distanced himself in interviews. "These are old matters. Let's focus on the future." By spring 2026, indictments loomed. Not just for her, but for the web of enablers who'd looked the other way. Grand juries convened in secret, witnesses subpoenaed. The media, chastened by their role in amplifying the Steele lies, ran exposés on their own failures. How we got duped. The dossier deception. In the end, Hillary Clinton's fall wasn't dramatic. No handcuffs on live TV, no tearful confession. It was procedural, inexorable, like the system she'd gamed finally catching up. She, who'd once commanded arenas, now faced a courtroom, her name no longer a shield, but a summons. And as the nation watched, one truth emerged. Power isn't eternal. It's borrowed. And when the bill comes due, even queens must pay. Yet, in the quiet aftermath, questions lingered. What if this was just the beginning? Patel's folder had cracked open one empire. What other secrets waited in the shadows? Washington, for all its polish, was built on fragile foundations. And with one man wielding the truth like a scalpel, the next reckoning might be even closer than anyone dared to think. The heroes weren't silent anymore. They were listening, and ready for more. As the months dragged on into the summer of 2026, the Clinton referral didn't fade into the background noise of Washington scandals. It metastasized. What started as a single folder in a hearing room ballooned into a full-scale federal probe, with tentacles reaching into every corner of her storied career. The Department of Justice, under a no-nonsense attorney general who'd campaigned on equal justice for all, assembled a special task force. Veteran prosecutors, forensic accountants, digital experts, and even international liaisons to track foreign donation trails. They weren't hunting headlines. They were building a case brick by brick, email by deleted email. Hillary Clinton's inner circle cracked first. Huma Abedin, her longtime aide and confidant, was spotted entering a nondescript federal building in Manhattan flanked by lawyers. Whispers from sources close to the investigation suggested she'd turned state's evidence, offering up calendars, memos, and even personal notes that detailed the seamless blend of State Department business and foundation fundraising. It was all one big operation, one anonymous tipster leaked to Politico. Meetings weren't scheduled by priority. They were scheduled by donation size. Abedin wasn't alone. Cheryl Mills, another key player, reportedly cooperated early, providing testimony on the server wipe that painted a picture of panic in the Clinton camp after the subpoena hit. "We knew it was bad," Mills allegedly said in a sealed deposition. But deleting was the only way to control the narrative. The media, once her fortress, began to crumble under the weight of their own complicity. CNN ran a multi-part series, The Dossier Debacle: How We Failed the Facts. Anchors admitted on air that they'd parroted unverified claims from the Steele file, fed directly from Clinton campaign operatives. "We were used," one veteran correspondent confessed in a tearful op-ed. MSNBC, her most steadfast echo chamber, hosted a town hall where former producers debated, did we cross from journalism to advocacy? Ratings dipped as viewers tuned out, seeking outlets that promised just the facts. Even the New York Times, which had broken the email server story years ago, published a bombshell retrospective. Clinton's Web: A Decade of Deception. It included newly declassified cables showing how her team pressured intelligence agencies to downplay Benghazi's terrorist links in favor of the video narrative. Public opinion shifted like sand in a storm. Polls from Gallup showed approval for the probe at 62%, crossing party lines. Republicans cheered it as justice delayed. Independents saw it as a blow against elite impunity. Even some Democrats whispered relief. It's time to move on from the Clintons. Protests erupted outside her Chappaqua home, not violent but persistent. Signs reading, "No one above the law," and "What difference does it make now?" Gold Star families from Benghazi formed a coalition, touring the country with speeches that mixed grief and outrage. "She looked us in the eye and lied," Patricia Smith, mother of Sean Smith, told a packed auditorium in Ohio. "Patel's referral gave us our voice back." Kash Patel, meanwhile, ascended to folk hero status without ever seeking the spotlight. He turned down book deals worth millions, instead channeling proceeds from unauthorized biographies into a nonprofit for government whistleblowers. "Truth isn't for sale," he said in a rare Fox News interview. His daily routine remained unchanged, early mornings at FBI headquarters, poring over evidence with his team. But his influence grew. Congress passed the Patel Transparency Act, mandating stricter oversight on private servers for public officials. Tech companies, stung by the BleachBit revelations, rolled out new tools for digital forensics, branding them as anti-obstruction software. Patel even testified before the United Nations on global influence peddling, using the Clinton Foundation as a case study. "Corruption doesn't respect borders," he warned. "It thrives in the shadows of power." But the probe unearthed more than just Clinton's sins. It exposed a rotten underbelly in American politics. Subpoenas flew to foreign embassies. Saudi Arabia stonewalled on their $25 million donation, but Kuwait cracked, providing records of meetings where arms deals were allegedly fast-tracked post-gift. A whistleblower from the UAE embassy leaked audio of a Clinton aide promising favorable consideration for a trade dispute resolution. The triangle expanded. Bill Clinton's speaking fees were dissected, revealing patterns where his appearances coincided with state approvals for host countries. One bombshell: a $500,000 fee from a Ukrainian oligarch just weeks before Hillary pushed for relaxed sanctions. It wasn't coincidence, prosecutors argued in court filings. It was compensation. The Benghazi chapter reopened wounds that never fully healed. New declassifications showed ignored warnings from CIA assets on the ground. Al-Qaeda affiliates planning anniversary attack. Hillary's team had dismissed them as low-priority chatter. Survivor testimonies poured in, contractors who'd begged for air support only to be told, "Stand down." A Netflix documentary, Benghazi Betrayed, went viral, featuring Patel as a narrator. It included reenactments of the night intercut with her public statements. Viewers rated it 4.8 stars, with comments like, "Finally, the truth without spin." The families sued the State Department for negligence, citing the probe's evidence. Settlements were rumored in the millions, but more importantly, It forced policy changes, enhanced security protocols for diplomatic outposts, named the Stevens Doctrine after the slain ambassador. The email saga evolved into a tech thriller. Forensic experts reconstructed fragments from the wiped server, using AI to piece together metadata. They recovered snippets, discussions on drone strikes, sensitive negotiations with Iran, even casual chats mixing official business with Foundation pitches. "This donor wants a sit-down on Middle East policy," one read. "Schedule after check clears?" The hammer-smashed devices yielded secrets, too. SIM cards traced to offshore backups that Clinton's team thought destroyed. One drive held unredacted cables on pay-to-play with Algerian officials, leading to Interpol alerts. The public gasped at the sheer volume, not just 33,000 emails, but attachments with classified maps, intelligence briefs, and donor lists cross-referenced with visa approvals. The Steele dossier dissection became a masterclass in disinformation. Fusion GPS executives were hauled in, admitting under oath that Clinton's campaign knew the file was raw and unverified, yet pushed it anyway. Leaked memos showed coordination with Obama-era officials to brief the FBI, creating a feedback loop of false legitimacy. Mueller's team, in hindsight, looked compromised. Several members had ties to Clinton allies. A congressional subcommittee grilled Comey in a closed session. "You called it salacious and unverified. Why open an investigation?" His answers, redacted but leaked, pointed to pressure from above. The cost tally rose, not just $32 million, but incalculable damage to institutions. Trust in the FBI plummeted, only to rebound under Patel's reforms. Mandatory bias training, stricter sourcing rules for intel. By fall 2026, indictments dropped like autumn leaves. First, peripheral players, IT contractors charged with evidence destruction. Then, Foundation board members for tax evasion on foreign funds. Hillary herself faced a 12-count indictment. Obstruction, mishandling classified info, conspiracy, wire fraud tied to donations. The arraignment was surreal, cameras barred, but sketches showed her stone-faced in a pantsuit entering a not-guilty plea. Bail set at $1 million, no travel restrictions yet, but her passport flagged. The trial date, spring 2027, in a Virginia federal court known for no-nonsense judges. Her defense? A dream team of high-powered lawyers arguing political persecution. They filed motions to dismiss, claiming statute of limitations and selective prosecution. "If this were anyone else," her lead attorney thundered in a presser, "it'd be dropped." But evidence mounted, affidavits from disillusioned staffers, bank records tracing quid pro quo, even a former donor turning state's witness. "I paid for access, and I got it." Public sympathy waned. Late-night comics skewered her. Hillary's new book, It Takes a Subpoena. Bill Clinton, ever the charmer, mounted a subtle PR offensive. He hit the circuit. TED Talks on global philanthropy in a cynical age, op-eds in The Atlantic decrying weaponized justice. But cracks showed. Reports of marital strain, him relocating to a Manhattan apartment. Chelsea, caught in the crossfire, stepped back from foundation duties, focusing on her kids. The family empire, once unassailable, teetered. Patel, undeterred by death threats and smear campaigns, pressed on. He expanded the FBI's anti-corruption unit, targeting other figures. A bipartisan net, snaring lobbyists, senators, even a former president or two. Clinton was the catalyst, he told a Senate hearing. But the cleanup continues. His approval rating soared to 75%, whispers of a 2028 run, though he dismissed them. "I'm a cop, not a candidate." As 2026 closed, America reflected, the referral wasn't just about one woman. It was a reckoning for a system that let power corrupt absolutely. Schools taught it in civics classes. The Clinton case, when accountability came calling. Books proliferated. Patel's File topped bestsellers, a thriller blending fact and speculation. Movies optioned the story, with casting rumors. Idris Elba as Patel, Meryl Streep as Clinton. Hillary, in rare interviews, maintained innocence. This is a vendetta, not justice. But her voice echoed hollow in a nation weary of excuses. The queen who'd ruled from shadows now faced the light, her legacy rewritten not by spin doctors, but by the unyielding march of facts. And in quiet corners, heroes like Patel reminded us, truth doesn't rush, it endures. The story wasn't over. It was evolving, page by painstaking page, into a cautionary epic for the ages. More revelations waited, more threads to pull, ensuring the saga stretched on, long and unrelenting, as justice demanded. As the trial unfolded in the spring of 2027, the Virginia federal courtroom became the epicenter of a national catharsis, a stage where the illusions of power were stripped bare under the harsh glare of judicial scrutiny. Hillary Rodham Clinton, once the indomitable force who had navigated Watergate investigations as a young lawyer, now sat at the defendant's table, her face a mask of calculated composure amid the storm of evidence. Prosecutors methodically laid out the case, weaving together the threads Patel had first unraveled. The server deletions timed with subpoenas, the Benghazi cables that contradicted every tearful public eulogy, the Foundation's donor ledgers that read like a menu of influence for sale, and the Steele dossier's disinformation machine that had poisoned the well of American democracy for years. Witness after witness took the stand, each chipping away at the fortress of denial she'd built. A former IT specialist, sweating under cross-examination, detailed the frantic calls to bleach the servers, admitting under oath that instructions came from the top. Make sure nothing's recoverable. Hammers, if necessary. Gold Star families delivered heart-wrenching testimony, recounting the lies at Andrews Air Force Base that had compounded their grief into betrayal. She promised justice, Charles Woods said, his voice cracking. But all we got was a fiction to protect her narrative. Donors from abroad, granted immunity for cooperation, confessed to the quid pro quo. We gave millions, and doors opened, arms deals approved, sanctions lifted, access granted. Even James Comey, subpoenaed and cornered, conceded that his 2016 no-intent finding had been influenced by political pressures, a revelation that sent shockwaves through the intelligence community. Her defense team fought valiantly, painting the proceedings as a partisan vendetta, a deep state reversal orchestrated by Patel and his allies. They paraded character witnesses, former presidents, senators, global leaders, who extolled her decades of service, her trailblazing as the first female presidential nominee, her work on children's rights and global health. This is not justice, her lead attorney argued in closing. This is retribution for a woman who dared to challenge the status quo. But the jury, a diverse cross-section of Americans weary of elite exemptions, saw through the rhetoric. The evidence was irrefutable, timelines synced with deletions, emails linking donations to decisions, videos of her own words clashing with declassified truths. After 3 weeks of deliberation, the verdict came down. Guilty on 8 counts: obstruction, mishandling classified information, conspiracy to defraud, and abuse of office. The courtroom erupted in a mix of gasps and applause, a release of pent-up frustration from a nation that had watched the powerful skate by for too long. Sentencing followed in the fall, a somber affair, where the judge, a no-frills appointee known for impartiality, weighed her legacy against her lapses. "You held the highest offices," he intoned, "yet you treated the law as optional, the truth as malleable, and the public trust as currency." She received 5 years in a minimum security facility, with credit for time served under house arrest, plus millions in fines directed to victims' funds for Benghazi families and election integrity nonprofits. No dramatic collapse, no defiant speech, just a quiet nod as marshals led her away, her pantsuit impeccable, her expression unreadable. Appeals would drag on for years, but the damage was done. Her name, once synonymous with resilience, now etched in history as a cautionary tale of hubris. Cash Patel, ever the quiet enforcer, watched from afar, his role complete. He resigned from the FBI shortly after, penning a memoir not of triumph but of duty. The File That Mattered, Restoring Accountability in a Divided Age. It became a bestseller, inspiring a new generation of public servants to prioritize principle over politics. Reforms swept through Washington: stricter ethics laws for foundations tied to officials, mandatory digital audits for government communications, bipartisan commissions to declassify disinformation campaigns. The Clinton Foundation dissolved amid audits, its assets redistributed to legitimate charities. Bill retreated to philanthropy on a smaller scale, Chelsea to academia, the family dynasty quietly fading into the footnotes of history. America, scarred but wiser, moved forward. The reckoning didn't heal all divides. Partisans still sparred, scandals still simmered, but it planted a seed of hope that no empire, no matter how fortified, could forever evade the light of truth. In the end, Hillary Clinton's story wasn't one of villainy or victimhood, but of a system finally correcting itself, proving that justice, though slow, is inexorable. And in the annals of a nation built on second chances and hard truths, her chapter closed not with a bang, but with the simple, resounding thud of a gavel, reminding all that power is a loan, not a birthright, and when abused, it demands repayment in full. Years later, as new leaders rose and old battles receded, students would study the Clinton reckoning as a pivotal moment, a turning point where the untouchables were touched, the webs unraveled, and the silent heroes, like Patel, emerged as the true architects of change. The Queen had fallen, not from a throne of gold, but from one built on secrets and spin. And in her wake, the Republic stood a little taller, its foundations reinforced against the corrosions of unchecked ambition. The end was not an erasure, but a revelation, that in the grand theater of power, the final act belongs not to the players, but to the enduring script of accountability.